Hey guys, Mike here. So we get to answer all your questions and comments for the week, and feel free to participate down the bottom. I always enjoy reading it and help out here. And we're going to go into all kinds of questions you had about the VIX and volatility. And I usually don't take chart requests, but there are two stocks. One's ROKU and one is Coin that I'm going to go into and kind of show you something you may be aware of, may not be aware of. And so we'll look at those as well as a lot of the questions you had. Now, starting off here, as you like to know me, I like to jump right into this. And of course, first off, I like to thank anybody that gives a little extra love to the channel. So I really appreciate this contribution there, Alan Bartram. Thank you very much, sir. Now, that leads us to the first questions from Renaissance Man. I don't think it's so much of a question as a statement, but I was talking today about volatility. He said, what volatility? The VIX was sleeping all day, Mike. And we're looking at two different things. You're looking at the VIX, and understand the VIX measures the expectation of stock market volatility as communicated by options prices rather than measuring, and this is the important part, realized or historical volatility. VIX projects implied or expected volatility specifically 30 days in the future. What I'm talking about is the big swings. Okay, in securities markets, volatility is often associated with big swings in either direction. I mean, you saw some big swings this week, where it would take London high and then go all the way down to London lows, take out prior week's low and everything, and swing back up. That is what I'm talking about. And this is why I show you Cam Carson, the guy who literally has a volatility fund, and he's an expert at this stuff, right? And what is he saying? Vol has been compressed. That's why you see the VIX is really compressed down, right? And so that can be manipulated just like anything else, and it measures the S&P, not the whole market or anything. So just kind of keep that in mind when we're talking about. So when I'm talking about volatility, I'm talking about the daily swings, okay? And so, kind of like we saw in IWM yesterday. I mean, the thing was like barely up, and all of a sudden we're up 3%, and then the Qs, it was way down. It jumps back up a full percent, swings back down another 0.5%. It was all over the place. So that's what I'm talking about. And so our next question comes from Joseph here, and he says, forgive my ignorance, but I understand the RTH and fair value gaps, but I'm confused as to how you're identifying or defining volume gaps. And that's easy. I'm just using the volume profiles to the right there to point out the volume gaps. VRVP is the indicator if you're in trading view. And you can see that big old hole right there. That's where volume drops off, right? And so these indexes and stocks, like you saw IWM, they cut through these areas like a hot knife through butter. And it can go up, as you saw yesterday, but it can also come down. This is where you see a lot of gap downs, a lot of RTH gaps and stuff, right? Which is what creates this vacuum, as I like to call it. And so if you got a stock coming up into one of those gaps or coming down into it, watch out. It's either going to most likely rocket through it if it's coming up, or it's going to rocket down if it's coming down. And you can use this, like you go out to the weekly, and you can pull this thing up, and you can see there's a volume gap right there. So if IWM can get up in that area and start heading towards and break through that volume gap right there, it can rocket right on up to like, what is that, like 220 right there. And so again, you can use this for long-term investing. You can use it for a day trade and swing trade, whatever you want to use it on. I know a lot of people use it for that. You can use it to set your support and resistance levels. Pretty easy. I call them tree branches. Just because you look to the right, they look like tree branches, right? So, hope that answers your question there, Joseph. And guys, before we continue, if you're getting anything out of this, please hit that thumbs up down there. I really appreciate it. And if you like the material here and the videos, think about subscribing. Now, the next question is, what even is a call or put sweep? That's a good question, and it's very simple. It's a large number of call option contracts that are bought or sold at the same time. And what's happening here is, this is big money. This is big orders. Just saying, look, fill the freaking order. Don't worry about the best price. We just need it filled because they're expecting a big move in one direction, right? Tesla's famous for this. When you see call sweeps coming through, the big ones, and all just piling up, it takes off, right? That's just the way it works. I've already explained how the market makers and they're rolling this and stuff. But that is one thing. If you see a lot of call sweeps coming through for Tesla, a lot of people just jump on board. They start buying the calls, and it's this big snowball effect because the market makers who are selling those things have to hedge. They're usually buying the stock then. That's how they're hedging, and it just keeps pushing the stock up. So that's how that works. Hopefully that helps out. And again, it's usually cheddar flow and usual whales, and somebody else put another one in the bottom where you can get those call sweeps and put sweeps and all that good stuff. Now, the next one comes from Achilles Wrath. I like that name right there. It says, Mike, I'd like to hear any opinion you got on Roku. It's up 90% since last month. I wonder how much more it can run. And you can pause and look through the rest of his questions if you want to. But, when you look at this one right here is a prime example on the chart of one that's just crashed and burned, right? I mean, look at that. straight up crash and burn. But look at this. This is this channel I put on here months ago. It's a long-term channel, at least as long as it can, because it goes back to its basically IPO, which was 2017. And you can see it's been resistance a bunch of times, and it broke out, came back down, became support for it, then became resistance again, and now it is breaking out of this channel. If you look at a smaller time frame and trying to turn it into support, that's going to be the key. If you can turn that into support, then that is super bullish. Obviously, this thing has just moved up, I mean, unbelievably, right? Obviously, all the moving averages are starting to turn up, which is a good thing. This is going into stage 2, all right? Obviously, it's overbought, but at this point in time, you got just crazy melt up happening all in the market. And you can see when we vote the volume profile and then head out to the weekly, you know, it's not overbought, but then you can see to the right there, it's made it through a lot of resistance, which means it has a lot of support below right there, probably around, what is that, like the 75 area. But then the next one, it's getting up in this volume gap right here, and the next resistance is like 127 or something like that. But you look above that, if this thing ever gets like 165 or above, you can see how it's going to move, because it was such a crazy move up and a crazy move down, all right? And a move that should have never happened, but it did, okay? And so it's going to leave very little resistance going up like that, all right? It's just all about money pushing it up, and that's got a ways to go if it does get there, okay? And so again, this isn't something that's moving on fundamentals and the earnings look great and all that mess. These are technicals. This is money rotating in these beaten down companies and pushing them up, okay, and trying to project and say, well, I think they'll be good to go. And then also, I think in that comment they said there's this room that Apple's going to buy them or somebody's going to buy them. That always helps too, okay? So if news comes out saying there's nobody's going to buy them, let's see how the stock reacts. Probably won't be good, but you know, we'll see. Now, next question is about coin. Can you please cover coin? It's had a phenomenal run. I haven't seen many people talking about coin, and I see more upside potential for the stock. You know, when you look at this one on the chart, understand this is simply a proxy for crypto and Bitcoin, right? Like if you pull up Bitcoin, you'll see these charts tied in here. And so for a lot of people, the reason I want to talk about this one, if a lot of people who don't feel comfortable buying cryptocurrency, what you can do is you can just buy a proxy like coin, or you can buy like the miners. You see the charts are almost identical, right? And so when you go in here and you'll pull up Riot's one of them, we'll see how Riot's been doing, you know, and Riot's been doing pretty darn good, right? I mean, it's up nicely. If we go back and kind of look over the last month, I guess it's up nicely. Let's do the last month. And you can see coins just killing at 72%, Riot's up 40%, there's Bitcoin up 12, right? So you go, well, maybe my money's better off just going with, you know, one of these stocks. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do that. A lot of people actually do it. Look at Mara. Mara, I think, is even better, right? Mara's up 55%, right? So coin usually is the number one, most volume in it when they think crypto's going up and stuff. For a lot of people who just don't want to deal with going and getting Bitcoin, or, you know, dealing with how to find or buy the altcoins and everything. And so again, this one right here, you can see is way overbought. I mean, it looks like a straight up cliff right there. But as long as cryptos are going up, it's going to go up too. Now you can see big reward, big risk, right? If crypto has a crash, this is going to crash right down with it. It has huge moves up, huge moves down. So you can imagine if you're holding this one long term, you better have really thick skin and stuff, and a good stomach. Maybe some Alka-Seltzer or stuff to take, because it's huge swings. But if you know how to trade the chart and get in and out, man, you're making a lot of money. So that's what I think about coin. Now, next one comes from Michael, and he says, what about the supposed crashes coming? And I'm going to add one more to this before I even talk about that. And it's like, you know, what about the accelerated earnings and GDP? Wait, we don't have any, of course, right? But it's actually not true. Earnings have been better than people thought they were, just because prices are higher and stuff. And companies are laying off a lot of people from their companies. That's one thing. But you can see, I mean, GDP, which obviously, you know, sure, can be manipulated. Yeah. But I can only go off what we get reported. You can see it's been positive, and it jumps to 5.2% for a Q3, which, you know, shocked a lot of people and stuff. But I think the one thing you want to look at more than GDP is GDI. And if you look at this chart, this is GDP versus GDI, and you can see a huge disparity on this, right? Huge divergence. And of course, when you look at what's helped output, is the excess savings we had to go spend, right? But then real disposable income growth has been weak. Okay, and there's never been a time where GDI was negative without a recession. Now, could that be the first time this ever happened? Absolutely, right? And GDI, the reason I say track it a little more is because it's been the more accurate signal of any recession coming out. And you can see by this chart right here what level we're at now. When you're looking at GDP US chain dollars versus US GDP gross domestic income chain dollars, you can see it's never been that high. This goes back to the 50s, right? And so, just a big divergence there. But again, remember, we shut down the world, which basically paused the business cycle, threw it all out of whack, right? With the supply chains going down, everything else. And so that's where it's confusing. So this might be just another one of those indicators that we depended on in the past and it was pretty accurate that just doesn't work, right? Maybe, and a lot of people say, you have that debate. That's the big debate. Are we in late cycle here? And so is there going to be a crash? I don't know. I'm not even looking that far out to it. Right? I said, I've showed you guys what I'm tracking. And if those don't line up to happen, it just don't happen. Right? And if it does, it does. That's just the way it is. But don't lose sleep over it. Obviously you might be worried, afraid you might lose your job. I can understand that totally. But if you're worried about as far as the stock market investments, don't even try to lose sleep over that. Okay? Just track what you can. There's plenty of indicators you can look at. And if they don't line up, they don't line up. It is what it is. Right? Now, I always said, as long as people have 2 or 3 jobs they can find and jobs that they're working, that's all that really matters, right? They're paying bills and all that good stuff. Now, this right here made me laugh, and it's actually true. I was talking about saving everything, and Sun Risen says, well, if everyone was frugal as Mike, the economy would be in a permanent recession. Don't listen to Mike's advice and save money. I want stocks to go up. And the reason I put that in here, because it's the opposite, actually. Think about this. What makes stocks go up? Me going out to Walmart and buying a bag of groceries every week, or me saving and putting it into stocks and index funds and things of that nature. What makes stocks go up, right? Is it these great earnings we're seeing? No, right? It's nothing to do with that. It just has to do with the fact there's liquidity out there, sentiment's good, and guess what else? The breadth is increasing. People are buying. You got to buy stocks to make them go up. You don't have to buy chicken at Walmart. You don't have to put gas in your car to make stocks go up. That's not what makes stocks go up. All right, get that out of your head, okay? Look at a recession. The earnings are horrible when the stock market bottoms, okay? It gets even worse and worse and worse. You saw my last video on that. But the stocks go up. So again, now we'd be in a recession. Sure, I get what you're saying on that right there. But you know what? I got a feeling they would figure that one out too. I got a feeling the government will step up and increase their debt even more. And the truth is, let's be real about it. Most people can't save, right? That's the system, right? At least half the country is in a position where they're making the amount of income they're making versus their expenses, they can barely put back anything anyway. That is the system. They need people, I told you, who they don't want to work minimum wage jobs, but they just don't have any choice, okay? And so you got to have those people. They'll never save. They'll ever invest. It's going to be really brutal for them. But that's the system we live in. That's why the government never encourages you to save money like that. They don't. That's why people get out of high school. They have no idea what credit cards and loans mean, how to do a budget. They don't want you knowing that stuff. They want you to remain ignorant so you can be a slave to this system, okay? That's just the way it is. I know that may be blunt. Some people get upset with me saying that, but that's just the truth, right? Feel free to put a different feeling in the comment. I like to hear it. Now, lastly, I saw this and I thought it was interesting because I'm a firm believer in education and educating yourself. And this has to do when I was talking about Charlie Munger. He died at 99, God rest his soul. And this person says, it's possible that scratching of the data will be solved in our lifetime, so you want to live as long as possible because it may be possible to reverse aging and live forever if the DNA issue is fixed. And I just want you to know, and I don't mean to be harsh about this, but if you're living in America, that's a pipe dream, okay? This is the same stuff when Kathy Woods was talking about, all these DNA companies and companies that were doing stem cell research and all this stuff, and it's the future and all, they're going to the moon. And understand, in other countries, that could be the case. In this country, it is not. Should you be able to go get an injection in your knee and grow back the cartilage, right? Instead of having to get your knee cut open and get your joint replaced? Absolutely. But folks, you have to understand, when you live in a country with a for-profit healthcare system, which is one of the very few in the world, and your government is owned by big pharma and big medical companies, all right? What I mean by that, right here, you can see it. You can Google this up yourself. Those combined, they give almost $233 million per year just in lobbying and campaign contributions. That's the stuff we know about. And understand this right here. It goes way beyond that. What do I mean? You want to learn something? Pay attention real quick. When Medicare D passed, understand the big pharma didn't want that. That was the worst thing for them because they were so fearful that the government would be able to negotiate drug prices, right? So what do? They go out and find them a person that's in Congress, got some power to do what? Well, look what he did. This guy's famous right here. Billy Townsend, I think is how you pronounce that, right? This guy actually switched from a Democrat to a Republican when the Republicans took over, and he was able to negotiate a Medicare drug bill which made sure that the government could not negotiate lower drug prices or re-importation of drugs from first world countries, right? None of that would be allowed. What happened after he did this and got it passed? He resigned from Congress to take a $2 million salary and job from a pharma company. And that's the stuff behind the scenes you don't know about, okay? They get paid to make sure these bills pass, and then they get rewarded on the back end to take big jobs on either the board of directors, executives, whatever it is, right? Book deals, you name it, okay? And so that's why, when's the last time you even heard about stem cell research in this country? You kidding me? That's why Europe and the Asian countries are so far ahead of us. That's why our athletes who can afford it fly to these countries to get the injection so they don't have to have the surgeries, okay? That is why, because guess what? If you can get an injection in your knee or your back and it redoes the cartilage and fixes the problem, that means you're not on painkillers, and it means you're not paying $78,000 for a hip replacement. It's that simple, okay? And if you think big pharma is big, the medical equipment industry is like 3 to 4 times the size of them, and they give way more money. Okay, when you walk into a doctor's office or hospital, all of that. You know how much an MRI machine costs? Okay, understand that's the way it works. I wish it didn't. Trust me, I wish it didn't. I won't live. Hopefully, one day my kid will live long enough to see that change. But unfortunately, until we get our government back, it won't. Until we get away from this, for-profit, crazy healthcare system we live in, you can forget about that. So, unfortunately. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments stuff. I hope you guys got something out of it. Please hit the like and subscribe button as always. I really enjoy these videos, and I will see you tomorrow to set up the week.